Hi, my name is Charletta Ayers. I'm Vice Chair of Clinical Services here in the Department of OBGYN at Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. I'm also Division Director of the General OBGYN Division and recently named the DEI Chair of our department. Well, I've always wanted to be a doctor. I think my mother said ever since I was 7. And when I think about it, I'm like, why? And I had a African-American pediatrician. And when I went to the pediatrician, it was always good cop, bad cop. The good cop was my pediatrician, the bad cop was my nurse in his office. And that was because she gave the shots. So I said, I always want to be like him, not like her. And I think that's where it started. And then the second part was I had the fortunate experience of having a doctor in my family who was our family doctor, who was also a cousin. And seeing how he interacted with his patients, he always had a laugh. You could hear him when you were in the office waiting for him to be seen. You heard him down the hall laughing, and always seeing the engagement between his patients and him. And I said, again, I want to be like him. So I always wanted to be a doctor. The type of doctor, that's a different thing. But I always wanted to be a physician. I wanted to care for other people. And I don't want to say genders are the same, but I think as a woman in medicine, as well as a Black woman in medicine, it's a little different. And I think I've had so many mentors who are women, who are as well as ally women, who've been very impactful. I think the first women in my life, my mother and my grandmothers, were very impactful in striving and encouraging me to have that excellence and to never see barriers. I'll never forget that first exam where I called home and started crying. I'm like, Mom, I can't do this. She said, do you have tissues? I said, yeah, Mom. She said, wipe your eyes. She said, get off this phone and you start studying. If I called my father, on the other hand, he would say, oh, honey, come on home. But those strong women in my life knew that I could do it and encouraged me. When I walk in a room, I walk in as Char. So sometimes if I'm in the Char mode, I don't see who else is there. And I think that's something that came from my upbringing. But sometimes you do know that you're only one in the room when specific questions are asked and they're only directed to you. Or when there's a problem of race or a student of color and they ask your opinion first before they ask the general group. And I think that sometimes that makes you feel responsible more than probably we have to. I think earlier on I had some imposter syndrome that, am I really here for the right reasons? I think some of my colleagues have that more than others. I think because of that energy that I had from my family of actually knowing where we were slaves, actually knowing where my relatives were on the plantation, and knowing what the big house is, and knowing that at the big house, really they were my relatives too. Going through that construct, I think I look at things a little different. So I think everyone sees it differently depending on your experiences, right? So I walk in a room as Char, knowing that sometimes I can't just be that. They see me sometimes as the Black woman at the table. You can't speak for an entire race. And I think one of the things is for my junior colleagues and my students is not to take that on. Be yourself, but also engage and speak up when we see things that could be done a little bit better.